What's going on, everyone, and welcome to episode 169 of the Bench Time Podcast with Todd and Brett Wily of Wily Scale Modeling. So, we have a little bit of business. Two things. I know we got Jeff on the line, so I don't want to leave him hanging too long. He might hang up on us. But the first announcement is a charity that James Powell wanted us to, get out there. He's doing a really awesome thing. He spoke about it when he was on our show before. The Magic Wheelchair Foundation that he works with he's doing a charity, a fundraising event. I'm butchering this read, James. I'm sorry. He's doing a fundraiser for the Magic Wheelchair right now called Race for the Wall, and he's trying to raise $2,000. So far, he's at the time of recording, he's at about $1,400, and it's on his DirtSpot.7 Facebook page. But we're going to throw a link to the fundraiser in the show notes too. But the basic thing of it is he'll go live every day from his page DirtSpot7 to give you updates on who's leading the Race for the Wall. And he's doing it for Magic Wheelchair, which is a non-profit organization that builds epic costumes for kids in wheelchairs at no cost to their families. So it's a really cool thing that James is doing. Again, if you want to support that, you can head on over to the link in our show description, and that would mean a lot to James. And it's just a cool thing they do. They built some really awesome stuff for some kids that, really, really appreciate it.
Is there a website for Magic Wheelchair itself? Or?
Yeah, the Magic Wheelchair, I think it's magicwheelchair.org.
Okay.
I don't quote me on that, but I will throw the links for both of them. I'm going to throw a link for the fundraiser that James is doing and the foundation in the show notes. So you guys can check that out if you want to do that. The other real quick thing I want to hit before we get started is just we had a funny incident this week happen on our actually I'm going to leave that I'm going to leave you guys on a cliffhanger with that one, and we're going to bring in Jeff Grove first because I want Jeff to be involved in this. This is a funny one. So Thanks for coming on the show, Jeff. Thanks for waiting for the first 2 minutes there while I babbled on.
Absolutely.
Always love having you on, Jeff.
It's always fun.
It's always a great time.
Yep, it's good to be with you guys. It's a great time. You're exactly right.
It's always real and it's always fun, but it's not always real fun when we're on. No, I'm just kidding. It's like
we bust on Jeff pretty hard.
He gives it back.
He does.
It comes both ways. Trust me.
So, Jeff, do you want to hear this funny? And you might have seen it. I'm not sure if you saw it happen or not. Something that happened on our listener group page.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I know where you're going. Yeah. This is good. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
One of our, I'm gonna call him out because he'll love this. One of our listeners, Dan, we'll call him Dan B. You know who you are. Everyone in the group knows who he is. He posts very innocently a question, just innocent question. Hey, where do you find AK and ammo products at a local store in his area? He's trying to find them. Not thinking, I would do the same thing. I wouldn't think of it any other way. And, Facebook thought of it as him looking for, ammo and weapons. So Dan got a 24-hour ban from Facebook, and not only that, now I have to go in and approve, or my dad has to approve all of Dan's posts in our group because he posted it in our group, which
for the next 30 days.
Yeah. So I'm not mad at Dan. It's a hilarious thing that happened later because what was funny about not him getting banned, that's not what's funny, is the whole group turned Dan into a bunch of funny memes on our Facebook group. And for 24 hours, Dan was the focus of attention while he was locked away in Facebook jail.
Yeah.
So
it was great. It was great.
We had a good time with it. Dan was a good sport about it. And
he was just using the names of ammo from Ammo MiG.
But you could see how it would get fouled up.
A store where you could buy paints or water products. It was water products from ammo or AK. And I don't get me wrong.
I get what happened. I get it.
If I'm out there, if I'm reading that, I'm a moderator for Facebook, And I'm reading that. I'm seeing ammo and AK, and there's nothing else written other than
in a group with a bunch of guys. In a group with a bunch of guys that play with little wooden buildings.
Yeah.
You don't have to look at everything.
I guess they have to do their job too. Somebody's doing their job.
I get why. Yeah.
I think it's petty, but I get it.
I just think it's funny of all people.
Well, it's the key.
Go ahead.
I guess it's the keywords that they get. That the AK and ammo. Those are keywords that they're given that that they have to watch for. Just simple as that. Yeah.
It's just an algorithm. Yeah. But of all people, it was innocent Dan Banks. Oh, loved it. But hey, thanks for being an awesome sport about it, Dan. We had a great time. I think you had a couple good laughs about it. So, note to everybody in the group, if you're part of the listener group, just avoid those keywords because I got a warning on our page about it too. So now we know. Yeah.
So I noticed some of the people were spelling it out afterwards with like space in between each letter, which will definitely help. It probably doesn't raise a red flag, but
anyways, I just had to have a good laugh about that one before we got into it. That was like the funniest thing that's happened to our group in a long time.
So, Jeff, what have you been doing to keep yourself busy for the last? I bet you it's been a year since we had you on the show. So.
Oh yeah, it's been a while. You guys, you just kind of forget about me. You talk to me once, and I'm just old.
Hey, I think this is the third or fourth time we've had you on here.
So, I don't know. You guys say, well, we don't have anybody this week. Let's call Jeff. So poor old Jeff.
Oh, do you hear that? Do you hear that, Dad? Dad, do you hear that?
What's that?
That's me playing the world's smallest fiddle, and I'm playing My Heart Bleeds for Jeff.
Oh
no, but in all seriousness, we're glad to have you back on.
Yes, it's good to be on with you guys, and I tell you what, you guys just have a good roster of all kinds of people on. So I sit here, I'm waiting my time again, and I'm fine with it. So good to be back with you. But no, I've been busy, staying busy and everything. Taking a little bit of a break now, working on the layout, just trying to get caught up. The business has been crazy, of course, which is good. And I'm trying to want to work on the layout a little bit because I haven't touched it much in the last couple of months. So I kind of shut a lot of the website down so I could get on the layout and get some things done there.
Yeah.
Well, now, it's good for you.
But notice it up. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say that's good for you, but a lot of our listeners now are going to be wanting to order some kits. And then, but I get it. No, I get it. You need to finally.
Excuse me.
You've been retiring now since we met you, so it's time you slow down a little bit.
Yeah, well, they can order. They may not be able to order them on the website, but they just shoot me an email, and I'll put them on the to-do list for them and let them know when they're done. So I'm getting a lot of that right now instead of. Instead of just doing the orders off the site. So that works.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. You're not drinking a beer over there, are you?
Heavens, no.
I am.
I couldn't do that.
But anyhow.
I shouldn't be drinking a beer.
I thought you were over there choking on a beer or something, but anyhow. Sorry. There's the awkward silence moment. So then we have. Yeah. So you're keeping busy. I mean, with the COVID thing that we all went, we're still going through. Have you noticed an uptick in sales during a lot of that? I mean, what did that do for business?
Yeah, last year was incredibly busy, incredibly good. Quite honestly, couldn't keep up. I sure do appreciate the patience with everybody. Because again, I just lots of orders and just a record year, and I'm tickled that it was that way. And I still had some time to put some new product out because I'm a bigger fan of the new kit than I am the last kit I did. So I like to keep working on something new and everything. So, but yeah, The gang is phenomenal with giving us all business. I've talked to just more than one manufacturer that just is tickled to death with everything we're all doing to keep our little industry very busy and very successful.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a double-edged sword to that, and obviously the downside is that there is something horrible that happened last year for everybody, but the upside is that the industry, in just a case in point with your side of the business, it picks up because everybody's stuck at home and they're of course building, so they wanted stuff to do and building at home. And then the other side is they're building at home and they're keeping busy. The other upside is that they are trying to stay in their homes and they were trying to stay healthy, and to do that they were staying in by modeling, and that's also healthy for us. It's probably more healthy to do the model building than to sit in front of your TV set all day long and binge watch Netflix. I mean, so that's a good thing. That's awesome.
Yep. It's for the mess we all had to go through and still going through to an extent, of course. I think we're very fortunate to have a hobby as well as we do with product that you can get. There's an awful lot of good kit manufacturers and product out there right now that's pretty, that's a lot better selections than we had 10 years ago, 12 years ago, so.
Sure. Now,
it's almost endless. It's kind of scary what people are coming out with now, too.
Yeah.
Now, you've had some new product over that course of time. You made some new kits. Do you want to talk about some of those?
Well, always trying to put something new out and everything. I've done several stations. The Elkins stations, I don't think we talked about that on the podcast for a while or anything, but the Elkins station was probably 6-7 months ago, and that one was very popular, and we did very well with that. Now we just did the York station. That's probably that's the big one that just was released a couple of weeks ago, and that's a pretty impressive structure. It really it's full brick, got the circular turret on the front and circular witch's hat roof, and so still been doing that. Did put the Main Street out. That's a very popular kit. Working on more waterfront stuff, and of course Jason, he helped with the Eagles Landing, which is still getting lots of calls for that one right now. So, if you haven't looked at the website, everything is still on the website. Again, probably can't order it from the site, but just shoot an email and we'll put you on the list with everything. But there's a lot of things. And, of course, all these city buildings. I've done several new city buildings for the layout, which aren't really intended as going to be kits, but, after I get them done, and the guys keep saying they want a kit of it, so might as well go ahead and do some others and put out there and everything. Because me, I like the city structures as much as anything. So
that's at Fenton Avenue, right?
Yes, yeah. Fenton Avenue is a new one coming out. That one's not done yet. I'm waiting on parts. The mail has been atrocious with stuff,
right.
But as we can get there, the Myers' Mill, that's one that we got all kinds of different parts for, and that's been a nightmare getting parts in for that. Finally, I've got them all in, so they're going to be shipping probably week after next, 2 weeks from now, probably.
Nice.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, that's great. No, not another mill.
No more mills, right? Well, that's kind of a mill. It's I should have known better, shouldn't I? Yeah, mills.
But no, you have a lot of them that, like, is Jimmy, I don't remember seeing Jimmy D's tires before. Jimmy D's Tires and Lube. Is that new too?
Yeah, Jimmy D's Tires and Lubes. That's one that Jason did.
Yeah,
Yep, nice little kit. And then, of course, Jason and I did JJ's Store. Then we've got Jeff's Boats. That's one. He did some of the boats and everything, some of the generic boats, and then we added some more prototypical Chesapeake Bay boats to it and everything. So
right.
there's a lot of small kits that were in there that again were designed for basically Jason's layout and mine.
Right.
And of course, the evolution of that was, why can't I get some of them too? So we just went ahead and put them out and everything. So.
Nice.
Oh, that's great. I mean, now what is the place, and what's the inspiration for that?
Well, that was there. I found a picture that was on a map, and we were headed to Carolina one weekend, and we stopped, and there was a bunch of maps there, and my wife, she'll read a map like she will the newspaper. So, and there was a picture of a building. I think I might have posted some pictures of that. There's just a picture of a building there, and I just liked the look of it and how tattered and everything it was. So that's where the place came. And the full name is The Place at North Carolina 36. So that's where it was located on the map and everything. So. Mm-hmm. I mean, just a rundown old garage with an apartment above, and then another little building to the back of it, and tried to do it up as a simple one so it could be just a real quick little kit to do. But it's got a lot of opportunities, a lot of possibilities you could do with it.
Yeah,
character. It's got character.
I like it. Yeah, I like the way it doesn't have any windows that match. I don't think all the windows are almost different and everything. So
that makes it more fun, though.
Well, I like that look because that means that somebody, they bought a window down along the gas station or somewhere alongside the road. They found a window and put it in. That's kind of the concept of how they did that with some of these backwoods buildings and everything. So
sure. Now, I've also noticed you have a H.O. Canal River Barge company, store, and hotel. And now, I have not seen that before until now. Is that new as well?
Yep, that's a new one. On the layout, I've got an area that from the Cushwall Basin. I grew up in Williamsport, which was close to the Cushwall Basin. If you ever get interested in some canal stuff, just look up the C&O Canal Cushwall Basin. You'll see a lot of really interesting reading. A lot of really neat canal stuff from the Western Maryland and the canal boats and everything that ran back in the 1850s. Right. And so with the canal on the layout, I just started adding some of these boats, canal barges that at the time they would just do anything, just make it up on their own and everything. That's kind of what I'm doing with these barges, and they've been very popular. Yeah.
Now this barge has a store and hotel on the barge.
Yes, on the barge. Yep.
See, that's badass. I've not seen anybody design something quite like that. Did you see that, Brett?
No, I'm looking for it right now. I'm trying to find it on his site as you guys are talking.
Go to shop and then HO scale. I guess it'll be HO Canal River Barge Company. I went to
there we go.
Shop. Got it?
Well,
isn't that cool?
I'm waiting for my awful internet to load. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
That is so cool. It's unique.
The HO Canal River.
Truly unique.
Yeah, that's insane.
And I'm using the same, we're using the same barge, basically. And then just putting these different, functions on the top of it. I've got, there's another one that's already been out. It's been out. It was out just before the store there. That had that was just a houseboat, and that would have been just like a boat that they would have had on the canal. That one, but my heavens, I got several in the works. We got a mule barge. I've got a dormitory barge. There's
I thought you were cutting back.
There's
No.
Okay, you sound like my wife now.
No. Please don't stop. No. Well, now I regret that. No, but
then
I love the little Port Theater. That's a cool little building.
That's a little building that was in Williamsport, Maryland. And again, I'll go back to the days when I was young, my mom would give me a quarter, and then we'd all go in and watch Gene Autry at the little theater. There was 2 seats on each side. It's a real theater.
That picture
was in Williamsport, Maryland.
The picture you have on the end of your slideshow on that kit page, I'm guessing that's the actual photo that you use as reference.
That was the actual photo of it.
That's
was in
pretty cool,
Maryland. Yeah,
that's very cool.
And like I said, it was a little theater, and you walked in those doors, and there was 2 chairs on each side of the aisle, and you had probably only seated about 30 or 40 people and everything, and that was it. And I still remember spending Saturday mornings in that silly little theater watching, again, Gene Autry and Tarzan and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
that's too cool.
Yeah,
that really goes way back. Yeah.
Well, it's
I've got.
I like the
I'm
kit.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just like that story that that you gave us with that kit, because now it's not just another kit. Like there's a story behind that one, and it actually, for people that a lot of people buy kits for, like the history of that building or the way it is, like the story that building tells, and for that, if anyone's listening, is really cool, just because you're the creator of that kit, but you took it upon yourself because it's like a nostalgic thing for you to make that that building. I love it.
Well, and I've actually started trying to rewrite a little bit of that same kind of a thing and put in each of these kits, because there's so many of them that are from my childhood and growing up in a canal town and a Western Maryland Railway town. That town did nothing but Western Maryland Railway, and there were cable cars that ran through the street that I remember. So I still remember when the railroad track for the cable cars went right down through the middle of the main street.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff. A lot of the architecture now, the Port Theater obviously probably still isn't there, but a lot of the architecture in that Western Maryland canal, the old canal towns, even over when you get over into West Virginia side and southwestern PA, that whole C&O Canal corridor, it's the architecture is still the same. There might be there might be some cosmetic changes, like different businesses are in there, so the storefront might be a little bit different, but those old buildings are still pretty much intact.
Yep.
Very cool.
And like I said, you go back and do a search on the Cushwall Basin that's there. That's actually ending up being the headquarters for the National Park Service for the C&O Canal. That's going to be in Williamsport. They're redoing. Actually, the lumber company that I worked at and all has now been bought by the Park Service, and they're putting in a new building.
Oh, wow.
And going to rehab the original part of the lumber company that was there in 1898. They're going to rehab that, so it'll be a museum and stuff like that down the road. But the Cushwall Basin has the Cushwall building and the old trolley barn that will be CCK kits coming down the road. So
very cool.
That's more of that. Plus, there's several buildings in the town of Williamsport that will end up being on the hit list too. So more like Port City Theater coming along. So.
Oh, nice.
I love it. And you know what I like about that is it is adaptable to that northeastern, bay, the oceanside or bay area architecture. But then if someone also wants to do a little bit farther inland, and they want to do like the C&O Canal river barge, if someone's doing like a more southern type layout, I'm thinking anything along the Mississippi River, you could easily use this and just change you're not going to use Chesapeake and Ohio. You could just change the name of the business, and now you got something that could have been anything riverside in any industry that was along a river.
Bro, are you playing drums?
No, it's my kids running around upstairs like elephants. They're like, I think they're trying to break through the floorboards.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, Dr. Kuhn's kit. Is that new?
No, that one's one of the original ones. That was probably the 4th or 5th kit we did.
Is that a full structure or is that a background flat?
That's a full structure.
That is cool. We got to talk to him about getting one of those.
Which one?
That would fit perfectly in the center of our city.
I'm looking for it.
It's got like a little it's almost like a triangular shape, the way it's done and everything, but it's very small. And it's a bear to put together. It's a horrible kit to put together.
It sounds so much fun.
It's just loaded with so many small parts and everything, and we actually end up putting in more parts. And I'm trying, and the instructions on it is nothing more than the parts, the numerical parts list, and showing a breakout of each step, because I don't know how to really write up instructions, and Dave, I think, pulled his hair out when he looked at it, because it's like, cut out a corbel, cut out another corbel, it was just because there's tons of corbels, and the windows, the windows on it are very complex.
Oh my gosh!
It's an impressive,
cool,
it's a Victorian look. Yep.
I love it. It would be perfect to fit in the center of the town. Especially in one of those triangular areas. Well, we have the roads splitting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to get you fixed up. I'm out of them right now, though.
We are not afraid of a challenge.
Have your people call my people, and we'll set it up, Jeff.
Yeah. We'll have our people get together. That sounds good. Yeah.
So
I'm not afraid of a challenge.
So you have a lot of. I feel like every time I come back to your site, Jeff, there's more things that I just.
He's got at least. I bet he's got at least 20 new things since we talked to him.
Now, I kind of want to get into. We've talked endlessly multiple times about a lot of your products. Actually, that Captain, man, I found another cool one. The Captain Efford's house.
Captain Eford's house.
Eford, that's a cool man. There's just too many. I'm scrolling through. I'm getting lost. But let's switch. Let's switch it up here, and let's talk about, what is Jeff working on for his layout? Because I know you've been pretty busy.
Yeah. What is going on with your layout?
Last week we used Doug. We used Doug's time to talk about some tips and tricks. So let's get into a little bit more model building talk.
Agree. And last time we had Jeff on, we talked to you, and you were just getting ready to start working more on your layout.
Right.
And now you've really done a lot. Yes.
Probably the layout, I didn't do hardly anything to it at all probably most of last year. I'd piddle with it a little bit, but nothing really serious. I was really hung up on getting the wiring right. I had issues. I'm not much at wiring, and I had issues. I couldn't get my guys that were wiring, that know what they're doing. We couldn't get together for them to fix it. So I'm on the phone and voicemails and stuff trying to make it work. And I think I was going to throw it away 2 or 3 times, done with it, and put in a pinball machine or something. But I finally got that where it runs decent and everything. Everything runs fine now, and we're back to where we're having our group sessions. So we work on Wednesdays, and we get anywhere from some days there's 2, and some days there's 10 of us in there working on the thing. So it gets kind of crowded once in a while. But we have made a tremendous amount of headway. If you haven't seen it, go online to Jimmy Ricard. What's his name? Joey Ricard. Yeah, Joey. Go on Joey's stuff under Trackside Scenery, and it'll say Jeff Brogue's layout. And he came up after we had gotten the initial levels done and took some pictures and did a really nice video on that and everything.
Yeah, I saw that. It was nice.
We need to go down and visit now. This has to happen.
We are. Yeah. We're coming down to visit.
We'll do it. That'll be fun. Yeah. But it's really coming. We've probably got the upper level. I would say the upper level is probably 70% completed, scenery and everything. Other than buildings, I still have a few buildings to do. Somebody asked me one day how many buildings I had on it, Craftsman kits, and there's probably on the upper level there's probably 85 Craftsman kits on the upper level alone. So just a lot of buildings everywhere, and so that's doing. The upper level is about done. The lower level is a little bit bigger, so we've got more work to do there. but it's coming. I'm very happy with it. Again, I've got it set up in basically 2 time eras. That the upper level was 1 era at this point, probably being we've got it set up to be, the first generation diesels and everything, and then the lower level is more dated into the 1965, 1970 area is what we think we're going to ultimately end up with when we're done that. So
you're getting to run a little bit of everything.
Yeah, a little bit. That way I can run first generation and steam on the upper level. The lower level will run more that's more of an operations kind of a layout for the guys that like to do operations. The upper level, we just kind of start it running and let it run, and you hear the sound of the engines. And then the lower levels when we're doing our operating and everything. So it serves a pretty nice purpose for both reasons. And when the grandkids come, they can just see trains run without having to worry about point to point or anything like that.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Now, when you say you have guys that are coming down there and helping you out and such, now do they like do the wiring? Do you do the wiring yourself, or does somebody else do that for you? Or?
Well, I've done most of the wiring on this just because of the again, when I was trying to do all that, we were under all the COVID stuff and everything. So my wiring guys didn't come, but we've got our group. The Hagerstown area has a tremendous group of modelers, and we probably have 30 guys that at any given time, are going to be working on trains, layouts and everything. From I've got 2 guys that probably aren't 5 minutes away from me.
Oh wow!
That again we'll get together, and again part of the problem that I have with trying to stay caught up with the kits is on Mondays we'll go to Rich's place, on Tuesdays we'll go to Greg's place, on Wednesdays we'll run to the hobby shop, and on Thursday we come to my place. And then
Boy, life sucks.
It does, and then my wife says, "Well, will you go to the store with me?" I say, "I can't. I got to help the guys work on trains." So it's a great, and again, we've got guys that deal with weathering and guys that deal with wiring and DCC and buildings and rolling stock and scenery. You just name it, and somebody does it better than the other guy. So it's incredible. So we can make a lot of progress when you get them the materials. They come, and when they come to work, they don't want to talk about anything. They want to work. So if I don't have materials, they're upset. They want to just get to work.
Yeah. They don't want to be down there just shooting the breeze. They want to get to work and do it.
Man, your crew means business.
Yeah, we do a lot of that too, but for the most part, we get a lot of work done.
That's good.
It's
well, and it sounds like it's a good balance because you'll go and help them too, and
right.
Everyone has a skill that the other person can tap into.
Absolutely, and like I said, it just works so well because everybody gets along. You almost call it a club, but we don't have any rules, and we just go work on buildings or work on
rules?
Whatever. Yeah, absolutely. The rules are kind of get us in trouble sometimes,
Yep.
So
when you have less rules, it means you just break less rules.
Right.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, no rules get broken that way.
So,
that's for sure.
That's
there might be some laws broken, but I don't know about rules.
Well, it's kind of like the movie Fight Club. What happens in Fight Club stays in Fight Club. But
Fight Club, yeah.
So, but that's awesome, and it's pretty neat to be involved in like a pretty. Sounds like it's a pretty tight little community that you found with a bunch of modelers in a tight packed little area, which is hard to.
Yeah.
A lot of people. It'd be hard to find, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you have friends. You have lots of friends that way there in your community, and that's awesome. I mean, who doesn't need friends?
Yep, it's a great little gang, and like I said, we get a lot of work done for all of us. So like you said, it's reciprocal. We all help the other one, and it all works very well. Yeah, absolutely.
See, that's cool. I think that should go on in a lot of would be cool to see happen in a lot of communities, you know, to be able to meet up with people in your area and just, you know, not necessarily join a club. I mean, there's some awesome clubs out there. We know that. And so some of you listeners are out there into some really good ones. But I mean, just to get together with some friends and stuff and go do some modeling together or helping each other out. And, you know, even if you just get together for a Saturday every once a month and go talk, you know, shoot the breeze about modeling over lunch somewhere, you know. I think that's cool.
And we'll do a lot of that. We'll meet for lunch, you know, and then we'll go to so and so's house and everything, and you know, so that we turn it into a day. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Now your layout itself does it run? Do you run DCC on that?
Yeah, DCC. Couple rules that we kind of have on mine is it's DCC, so everything is sound.
Here come the rules, Brett. Here come the rules.
Here come the rules. So
I'm sorry.
So so don't bring no DC stuff there. But no, we basically run everything with DCC with sound or a coupled unit with sound in one, so that you do get the sound with it and everything. And we try to have everything weathered. I'm a little bit like Jason, where I like everything weathered. So, you know, all the cars, rolling stock, the engines, you know, of course, the buildings. You see what I like to do with my buildings and everything. And, and it all plays into that. Nothing's really pristine and new for the most part.
What's unweathered, Brett? Do we have any? We have 100 and some buildings on that layout.
I have one.
Do we have any unweathered?
I do.
You do?
It's the one I'm currently building. It's not weathered yet.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah. I guarantee you it'll be heavily weathered till he's done.
No, I don't like the weather stuff.
So, geez.
Now, when you work on it with all your friends, what do you end up usually doing, Jeff?
Normally, I'm helping to fix something. You know that either they're working on an area that I need to finish up some details on a building, or I need to fix a roof or fix a chimney. So I'm normally trying to finish up a building and or scene diorama part of what they're working on. And then they're doing, you know, most times they're doing the ballast and the scenery and trees and stuff like that. And you know, I end up being the guy to do all, and when we go to other guys' places, I end up being the guy that's helping to build buildings and or weathering and stuff like that.
Oh, okay, great. See?
Yeah, and that's probably my biggest love of the hobby is the buildings.
Sure.
I've gotten pretty excited about the engines and everything, trying to be more prototypical with the engines and all now than I was.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that.
Oh, okay, but yeah, I kind of like doing that now. But the buildings are still my love. I like to say I'm a model railroader, but I'm not operations. You know, some of the guys are just so good at operating, and my layout was designed to operate. But for the most part, I'm happy if a train runs through a scene where a building is or something. But you know, so yeah.
Well, you damn well better be. It's your business.
Yeah. Well, you know, I like the realism of what does that and everything too. So
now, let's get to the train part. Now I get this sneaking suspicion that you like to collect some of the really nice trains. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm actually back into brass again. I'm collecting some brass that I hadn't done. I actually had a pretty nice collection of brass back in the late 90s, and I actually sold just about everything off. And I've gotten back into redoing everything now. So and right now the brass market's pretty soft, so you don't have to spend a lot of money on some of the brass. And I've been trying to get my Western Maryland and things like that and everything of some of the engines that I like. So that's been kind of a little bit else of what I've been doing to try to, you know, cut back on the kit so much and be playing more than working all the time.
Right. Now, when you work with brass, do you paint and weather those brass engines?
I do, yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool. And you do it yourself? You've done that yourself?
Well, I do some of it myself. It just depends on how busy everything is.
I'd be scared to death.
I have it's really no different than than plastic to an extent. You got to use, you really need to use a little bit better quality paint. You really should use, if you use scale coat paint, that will really give you. That's just a very good paint. It's almost painless to use. So it makes a nice job to do that. And you paint one or two, you're gonna mess them up, but then you get back to when you get it straightened out, it's not really too difficult.
Yeah. Scale coat doesn't chip off, does it?
But the hard part's tearing them apart. You really need to tear a lot of the pieces off of them to get them to paint right and everything.
Yeah. That's where it's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I bet it's probably
I'd never get it back together.
It's probably not much different than doing a Craftsman kit, where we think it's frightening to do that, but once you've done it, you kind of get the hang of it, and you just become more used to it.
Well, again, you're gonna mess stuff up. Start with some junk. You can buy some cheap brass pieces of cars and some of that that quite honestly, you almost have to rebuild the whole thing to get it right. But practice with that and make your mistakes and move on.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. A lot of guys.
Go ahead.
I say a lot of guys don't want to. They get scared to paint a Craftsman kit, but you're not going to mess it up. If you mess up the paint, you redo it again or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We said that a million times.
Well, and I'm sure it's like
absolutely.
I'm sure it's like this. I could probably get on eBay tonight and pick up either a brass locomotive that's been pretty worn or that needs repairs. Obviously, it's going to be more expensive than a plastic one, but even if you're just doing a plastic locomotive too, and you want to paint one and rebuild one, pick up one that needs some work for cheap. Or cheaper than a one that's in running condition, and then experiment with that. Learn from some cheaper ones before you dip your toes into the few $100 ones.
Yep. And yes, they're tougher to paint and get a nice job out of, because again, with your plastic stuff, in a lot of cases, you're only painting it one coat, your primer, and then possibly just a finish coat. But to do brass right, you need to prime. You need to make sure it's cleaned properly. You need to make sure you get any of the seal coats off of it. Then you need to prime. Then you need to paint. Then you need to figure out how you need to run some finish coats on, depending on what kind of decals you want to do. Then when you're done, you need to coat it again. So you're talking 4, 5, 6 coats to do a brass engine properly. Whereas in a plastic engine, you can get by with 1, 2, 3 coats, depending on the look you're looking for in a plastic engine. It'll just paint easier than a lot less easy to. You can't make as many mistakes on a plastic one as you could on a brass one, but after you do it a couple times, you got it. Like you said, opening up a box of a Craftsman kit with all those parts and pieces in it is not any more scary than working on a brass engine. So
it's just something different.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. When you buy a brass engine to work on, or when you buy a new brass engine, do you go for a steam with the brass, or do you do a diesel, or do you have something of both?
Well, it depends. I got a few of both, but for the most part, I like the steam because most of the brass steam isn't available in the plastic engines today.
Right.
And the thing that impresses me more about the brass engines opposed to it being model trains is here is something that was built, anywhere from the 50s through the 80s. There's some that's been built recently, but for the most part, it's older product that was done in the 70s, and it's like buying just a quality antique. The workmanship on them is just marvel. I marvel at the workmanship in a brass engine that was built in 1962. It's just you just look at it and you just marvel what was done at that time.
Cool. I can't wait to go down and see some of yours and see what they're like. Now, since you're buying them and they were actually made then, and you run DCC, you have to install DCC into them, correct?
Right. If I want to run it on the layout,
right,
then I need to get DCC in it, and I've got a buddy that he'll put DCC in anything I want, any of that stuff. Yes.
Oh, that's cool. I was going to ask you next if you ever tried installing your own DCC into an engine, but
I have not. And again, when our little group, these guys will put that in an evening, and it's beyond me at this point.
Sometimes it's better to just defer to someone that knows what they're doing, and you don't have to screw up your engine or something.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. So I'll do that with, and I really don't run too many of them. I have a few, again, some of my favorite Western Maryland engines from my growing up days. I'll try to have them where they can run with sound and everything, and that's basically it. The rest of them are just. They call them shelf queens, and I got a lot of shelf queens. So
now, the sound cards and all that stuff, they put them in there as well. I mean, they're older, and I don't know enough about DCC. I mean, we have DCC, but we buy already ready to run with it pre-installed.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's say you have a brass and you go to you're going to put DCC into it to run it. Because they're older, is there enough room in there to put both the DCC, I don't know, where they put cards in there of some kind?
And, you can tell we're very well versed on this.
I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, it's, again, the decoders have gotten smaller, of course, over the years. The speakers have gotten better and smaller, so normally there's plenty of room to put. You start talking about the smaller engines. You have your logging locomotives, the Shays and the Climax type things. They are a little bit more difficult because there's not a lot of room in them. But just about everything else is probably easier than some of the plastic is because of the way they're built and everything.
Right.
And and most times you have to change the motors. Normally the motors in the early engines is all open frame, so you have to end up putting can motors in because open frame motors don't like DCC very well. They can burn up because of the amperage or whatever they do in there and everything. So you should replace that, and that's probably where the biggest part of your brass is, getting an engine or getting a motor that will set in there enough without. They have detailed backheads in them and stuff like that, so you got to make sure all that stuff will fit.
Sure. So. And like I said, I was only curious because I know, like you said, most of your brass was made in the earlier years before DCC came around, so they're not really maybe not engineered that way, So
right.
That's why I asked that. And so that's interesting to know.
So Jeff, I want to ask, what is your favorite part of having brass locomotives versus just the plastic ones? So, and this is coming from. I was going to say this is coming from someone who would just buy something that's ready to roll, and I can just slap it on. We can weather it a little bit, and it just runs. So I just want to know, why you enjoy it, or what the difference is for you.
Well, the difference is, again, when you're looking at Broadway limited engines, they're fine. You'll buy a Broadway limited engine that's going to say Western Maryland, or it's going to say you're buying a Union Pacific or something, and they're going to, for the most part, they're pretty close to the prototype, but they're not going to be perfect. Some of your brass, they'll make sure that the intake valves are exactly where they were on the original engine. And just more realistic, more prototypical, because they were built, the guy sitting there putting it together with the picture of a Western Maryland J that everything has to be exactly right. Now, not all the brass is that way, but if you're getting into your better quality brass, again, they're works of art. They're not model trains. They're like buying, just fine art and museum kind of pieces and everything. That's where I think there's a big difference in everything. But and again, to think back in the day when they did those, that they had, they were doing 15 engines, and I don't know all the details of the brass, but
man.
They were doing 15 different engines for a 280 opposed to, Bachmann or MTH putting out a 280 today. It's
right.
just a different level of how they did every engine for every, railroad and everything in the day.
So in a way, like you had said, they're more the Craftsman kit of the locomotive world. So
yes,
I'm kind of jealous in a way because I think that would step our game up, but then also at the same time we're not ready for a brass locomotive with the way our layout is right now. But I do, whenever we would go to, I'm sure you've been there, Tommy Gilbert's over in Gettysburg.
Mm-hmm.
You go there and he had that wall of all those brass, or he still has it, all the brass locomotives up on the wall. And then I'm sure my dad could attest to this. When you go there and you're buying whatever you're buying and you get to the cash register and you see all those brass locomotives up on that wall, you just stare at them like, oh my gosh, they're not even painted and they're beautiful. So they're just brass. There's nothing on them yet. And you look at them and you're like, man, the detail on them in just a brass form, they're like prestigious up there. So
I was actually at Tommy's about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he really juiced it up in that store. He restocked it. It's looking nice. He's putting some new product in, and he's done a good job. So
nice.
He plugs along in there.
Yes, he does. Yep.
Well, and I know he had a couple. He had some issues earlier.
He's had some health things going on, and family things.
Hear that he's still down there chugging along.
Yep.
No pun intended. He's chugging along, but it's good to see that he's
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing with the TV set?
My wife is trying to. I keep having to turn it off.
You just know this is a circus when you come on here, right?
Listen, all right. My wife keps trying to cast. I have a TV in my basement.
Nobody accused us of being professional.
I have a TV in my basement, right? And it was just on. It's on, right? And it's hooked up to a Chromecast. But my wife, I took the Chrome. Well, all right. This is a side story that just has to be told. All right, we bought a new TV. You can cast from your phone to the TV without having an extra device. So we took our Chromecast and I took it to the basement because, well, we don't need that anymore. Well, I never renamed my Chromecast and it's called Living Room TV, but it's in my basement. So when I power everything up down here, my TV turns on, and every now and then we forget that it's no longer the Living Room Chromecast. And she'll try to cast TV shows to my TV in the basement, and it just keeps coming on. And I can see it because it starts to spin, and then the sound clicks on halfway through the thing. So that's why you guys are hearing that right now. Ugh. Anyways, moving on. Back on track.
So, yeah, we now, speaking of hobby shops, on your Facebook page, you posted a rare find or a new gem find at Mount Airy, Maryland. So, but you didn't tell us what it was. You just showed some pictures of it. I was even Google searching Mount Airy, Maryland to see where it might be since we don't live too far away. It's an hour and a half for me, probably.
Yeah, but it's close enough for rare finds.
Yeah. So what's this about, Jeff?
Well, that's a toy exchange that when you get off of 70, going into Mount Airy, it's like the first little shopping center on the right. But it's nothing more than a toy exchange, and the guy buys collections, and most of it's O gauge. But he's got a lot. You can see from the pictures, it's just full of everything. There's just tons of stuff.
I was like, Jeff's not going to put the name of that up there. He's keeping it a secret because it's his own little find.
He just found his own little.
He's teasing us, man.
Jeff has his own little hot spot now, and he's not going to tell anyone.
Now, I thought I put it up. A couple of people asked where it was, and I put on there that I think it's called the Toy Exchange. And again, a buddy and I found it. The girls we went down there, and the girls go shopping down there every once in a while, and we just were out and saw that thing, and some of the stuff in there, it's some of it's good finds. You know how it is when you find these old shops like that. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you modeling on your own layout right now, as far as building for yourself? Are you building for your own?
Probably I work on several at a time. I'm still working on the Burgall Grocery and putting in finishing up my version of the Myers Mill is a feed mill that goes like right beside of where the Burgall Grocery is. Yeah. So finishing that up, I'm actually going to start FSM Schwack hammers before long to put beside of that. I'm going to try to get that built here before long, and that'll be a part of that. And then the rest of it right now, I'm trying to work on backdrop buildings for, just for along the back scenery and everything. Just trying to come up with a bunch of that stuff right now. So
it's fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice to have a goal or two. I try to do a goal that I do in the area of the backdrop, especially. Every day when I try to do something with either a kit and or pictures or something.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever run? Hey, Joey, we were talking about Joey Ricard, and Joey has that wonderful helix, lightweight helix thing he does. And we were joking around about that one time before. I think it was with you. We were joking around. And then, of course, Joey and I were talking about it, too, at the show when he was down there at, that was Timonium. And we were in there. He put that thing around my neck and took pictures of me with that thing around my neck because it was so lightweight. And then, but he was talking about putting a double helix in your layout. Did you ever put a helix in that layout?
No, we didn't. It just ate up too much room that I couldn't do scenery with and buildings with, and I just wasn't prepared to put up, to give up that much space that would be a helix. It takes up like 4 foot, 4x4 square space. A helix is problematic with just the amount of rolling stock you can do with it. Sure. And I just decided I'm going to keep it 2 levels where I can have the upper level is more of a display. And hang on a second.
Oh, now the circus is at his place. Oh, I love it. Jeff's in the doghouse.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. We're just happy for once it wasn't one of our houses.
Good, can you? I just said Jeff's in the doghouse.
The dogs are all just going crazy here. My son just popped in, is what he did. So
nice.
Yeah.
So, is your son into the model railroading as well?
No. He was messing with the buildings at one time, but he's married and has kids and everything, so he's all piled up with that. That keeps him busy. So
yeah, we all can relate to that at some point, and we've all been there. So now, last we talked about that helix. We were actually talking about that with you on the show, whether or not you were going to actually do it, and then you said at that time you had not made up your mind yet at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand those. Yeah, it does eat up a lot of space, but it is a remarkably cool product. His super light helix.
It really is neat the way it goes and everything. Yeah, absolutely.
But now, we have some
listener questions.
Listener questions for you here. If you're,
Okay. All right.
we always put them up for our guests on the show. I think we've probably done it with you before as well. But let me pull it up here.
I got them up if you're ready.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you do it. I did it with Jeff. I did it with Doug last week, and I about blew half the questions. So I'll let you do it.
No problem. All right.
Yeah, Brett says I'll handle this.
I got this one. I got it this week. I was in pain physically listening last week doing that. So no, I'm just kidding.
I appreciate it.
All right. So
Yeah.
this one is from Greg Leipart. Tell us the story behind your company name and what niche do you hope that you filled in our hobby?
Okay, well, it started out. We moved to. We were moving to the Carolinas to just move permanently. Yeah, to move permanently down there. And what happened was, we kind of made the move, and then my dad got sick, and so we needed to help him with stuff. And so we were driving back and forth from North Carolina to Maryland, and then Maryland to North Carolina, and I had named everything Carolina Craftsman Kits, and it just didn't work. So it was too late to change the name to Maryland Craftsman Kits. So we figured out, well, we'll just leave it go where it was, and we still spend a lot of time in the Carolinas because our son lives down there. So we figured that's close enough, So, and I guess the niche I hope to fill is I think I've done that. I personally like for Brett to say about that Port City Theater, that makes me feel good about what I'm doing, because a lot of memories of growing up around the railroad canal town, railroad town, are the buildings that I'm bringing out and doing different kits of, and trying to replicate to an extent. And right now, the next 10 buildings I have on my list of to do are all a prototypical building of some sort that comes from something that is something in my life. So,
and what's cool about that, Jeff, is I kind of alluded to this earlier. The Craftsman kit industry is very personal, I feel. So even if these model builders, and many of them never meet the men that make the kit or the people that make the kits, but it's a very personal decision because you have a lot to comb through. There's a large selection now of kits, but what's really cool, whether you're getting a Craftsman kit from you or from some of the newer ones like Mind Mount Models or the well-known ones, they're all over. Kenny, all the guys. What's really cool is you're not just getting a kit, you're getting something that most likely meant something to the person that was making that kit. And you're buying a little bit of a piece of history from that person's life, whether it's a fictional building or a recreation of something historical that existed. You're still getting a little bit of a history of, the influence in your background and what you knew growing up with architecture and what inspired you to make these kits. So, and I'm not getting sappy, but what's really neat about it is like,
no, but if you buy a Waldo's kit and you buy the
it's cold.
The plastic
it's cold
version of the corner garage, the corner gas station,
right?
And that's all it's called, right? And it's a standardized thing. Somebody just slapped it together, and that was it. There's no background to some of those kits.
Whether it's and that's what I wanted to say. Whether it's fictional and it, I'll use a Mind Mount for example. He has the hot dog stand. I don't know if it's real or not, but that's a really cool hot dog stand. Top Dog's hot dog or something. That's a really neat building that Ron poured his work into. And for you, like I said with this theater, it's an easy building to pass by when you're scrolling through your site because you got a lot of really big, a lot more detailed builds, but I really thought that was cool because there's a historical photo tied to it. There's a story that you have tied to it. And when someone buys that, they're going to get a little piece of your history with that. So,
and if they want to know, they can ask him.
Yeah.
We know that Ron did the hot dog thing because he was hungry that day.
He's really doing some nice kits now too.
Yes.
He's really done a nice job with for no longer than he's been at it. He's really doing a nice job with his kits.
And and I think the key with what he's doing is he's really taking his time with those kits, and he's not pumping a ton of them out. But when he puts one out, it's really well done.
Yes.
So,
but you go back to again nostalgia. Doc Koontz's, that's not from what his Doc Koontz had a little drugstore in Williamsport, my hometown. And he wasn't a doctor. He was just the pharmacist. And back in that time, back in the mid '50s, you didn't need to be a doctor, I don't think, to be a pharmacist or whatever. And of course, he had the soda fountain in there, and it was almost like a dollar store today. And but the memories of that are me and a friend of mine would walk into town, wait for my mom to get off work at the bank, and we'd sit for her, waiting for her at the drugstore, having sodas and stuff. And that's where Doc Koontz's came from. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, and it's just stuff that people, hearing those stories and I know you don't think of yourself this way probably because most of the guys don't who are kit manufacturers right now, but to a lot of us out there in the hobby, Carolina Craftsman kits and Foscale models and Casey's Workshop, so all those kits, when they order them, they're the equivalent of when you could get a fine scale miniatures kit. They might be they're different because technologies are different now, and nothing will ever be that kit, the yellow box or the old Campbell's kits. They're never going to be what they used to be. Right. But you, and I'm sure you've thought about this, you've created
it's a different industry now too. Yeah.
Right, but you've created your own thing, and it filled the void where those older manufacturers are no longer there anymore. So now you're those manufacturers, and it just means a lot when there's a story behind all of them. When we talked with George about his kits, there's a story behind almost every single one he did, and you guys continue to do that, which is really neat. I find I find that really neat. So
and again, I have to go ahead and do that story to put inside of each kit because I'm hearing a lot of that because it's again, just like this conversation, I've brought that up more than I have in the past, and everybody wants to know, well, what's the story behind Nickerson's? What's the story behind, and so I'm going to go ahead and there's very few of my kits that don't have some kind of a story.
Right.
Faircloth, that was a kit that I actually got my car stuck back in the days when I was working along the coast and got stuck in the mud at this old oyster factory. It reminds me of that building. So
I'm looking at it right now.
And the thing about that is that like you're both saying, the nostalgia of it is, hey, look, if I'm going to put the time that I'm going to put to in a kit, especially as long as it takes me to build a damn kit, okay, if I'm going to put a kit together, I want to know the background of that story. If I'm putting that much time into it, I want to know the thought process for why it was designed like that. To me, that's interesting. I may not use it the same way as you designed it, okay? For the most part, I do, but I still want to know the background while I'm sitting there building it, And I think a lot of people feel that way. We put that much time into it. You should know something about it.
It also changes the way I build the kit then. Because now I know a little bit about what that building's supposed to be. So, anyways, all right,
what's the next question?
Let's move on to the next question.
That was one question, Jeff. One damn question. It took that long.
And he's got 102 to go. Oh,
we'll be here till 5 a.m. No, all right. This one is from Scott Perry, and it's a long one, so I'm going to kind of truncate it here. First one is, when are you moving back to the Carolinas? Question mark, exclamation point, exclamation point. But I don't know if you are. And the next one, that's the first. It was just the first part. It was just like he threw that in there as like the icebreaker, I guess. And then the next one he threw in there was.
Well, you didn't let him answer. Damn it!
Oh, are you moving back to the Carolinas?
No.
Okay.
We've had again health. We lost my brother-in-law passed away not long ago. So my wife's sister. We're just doing things, but we do go back and forth to the Carolinas. Actually, I'm in Wilmington right now because I'm down here helping my son do stuff and everything. So, we have a place we can stay that we go and get back and visit our friends in Carolina and then go back up home and take care of things you have to do as you get older. It's just, retirement is, and again, I'm retired, but I'm as busy as I want to be, and I'm not, I'm not complaining that I'm busy because I absolutely love it. If I didn't have anything to do, I would be. If I had to watch TV tomorrow, I would be crazy. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, you're a busybody.
Right. So, and for now, I can still travel. We're still healthy enough that we can get back and forth. And my wife's down here doing a sewing thing. She's actually at Emerald Owl doing a sewing thing. So I'm helping my son and traveling and. So we split our time between the two as we can and as places are available that we can stay. So
nice.
And we have to get our wives together.
Oh, no, that would be dangerous.
Yeah.
Oh, my word.
Nah.
You talk
She
about,
is a sewing freak.
You talk about
and,
the amount of assets you guys have wrapped up in fabric between my mom and Jeff's wife is probably insane.
Yeah.
Oh, it's insane. But hey,
but it's like her. She lets you do your thing, and then you let her do her thing.
Right.
You know what? We could waste money on worse things.
Oh,
absolutely.
Or whatever. So, yeah.
Right. The second part of
who buys running sneakers? Who in the world would pay money for running shoes?
Well,
yeah,
what do you
no
think,
kidding.
Todd?
I know.
I'm finding a pair of flip flops.
I'm sick in the head.
Yeah.
I'm sick in the head. Yeah. I'm doing a 50-miler this weekend, so that'll be fun.
Oh, good Lord! I walked out to the post the mailbox the other day. So man, I didn't run. I walked.
I don't even run to the kitchen.
Anyways, hey, the second part of Scott's question is and it was actually I want to read the answer by Mind Mount Models and Ron before you answer this, Jeff.
Okay.
But he was asking if there's any chance of getting some businesses that you could use that would be more for rail-served industries, like for operations. So 2 or 3 rail cars or of traffic per structure that you have. So more like operation and rail industry type buildings. And I want to give Mind Mount and Ron a shout on this because he's saying that creating a kit that can handle 2 to 3 box cars is tough to justify because sometimes the size and cost of that structure would be much larger. Because if you think about like the size that structure would need to be to serve a rail industry, it would be a large building. And Ron was saying the only possibility would probably be background flats. That way the length could be doubled and the price point would be reasonable. And I'm sure you've run into that in the past, like creating an industry type building that's large enough to be, substantial but cost effective. And it also can serve a rail industry.
Well, if you go again, my Burgall grocery is similar to that. That one is actually one that could be easily converted to more of a rail industry. It really doesn't have any warehouse. And again, it's probably 18 inches long overall. So, something like that, to do 3 or 4 cars, you are talking about something that needs to be, 16 to 21 inches long or so in that neighborhood.
Right.
But and Ron's right. The backgrounds are perfect for that because you can help keep the costs down, and so. But I have several that I'm working on that are going to be for the layout that I just haven't gotten to yet because I've been personally I've been just so consumed doing things for the layout and everything.
Right.
He also has a second question here, Brett.
Scott?
No, Ron on that.
Does he?
Oh no, you already asked that. Never mind. This is why I did not ask the questions.
I already went through them both.
Maybe you should just. Yeah, he did too. Hey, Brett. Maybe you should just call this the Brett Show.
I think we're gonna mute my dad for the time being.
Oh, that was a good one. He got me on that one.
No,
you got to keep him around for entertainment value.
So I'll give my dad the secret to answering these questions as you go along. So if anyone asks, and I'm sure that people have noticed this in the group, if anyone asks a question, I give it the heart react on the Facebook. I give it the little love react. And if I hit the love react, it means I've checked off your question basically, and I'm going to move on to the next one. I gave your question some love, and I move on to the next one. That way, I know I'm done with that question, and I can move on when I'm scrolling through. And I'll have my dad practice that one next.
Yeah.
This next one is also from Greg from earlier. Will you be in Maryland in April?
Yes, I'm going to be at the show at Timonium and everything. Yes.
Nice. Cool.
Now that we're on that subject, let's hit that for a couple minutes before we get back to the next questions. Shows. Are you prepared to get back into shows? What's the deal? How do you feel about all that? Do you think it's time yet? There's a million questions on that. So, what's up with I know you've always been on the show circuit before, and we've hung out with you at the shows and had a great time with you at a bunch of shows. So Timonium coming up, but what's the game plan for you?
Well, Timonium coming up, of course. That's that little there. I shouldn't say little because they've actually got a pretty good list of vendors in there.
Yeah.
I understand the sales are doing pretty decent for the 4 segments that they're doing. So, that's kind of one of, I'm hoping for a good show, but quite honestly, I could care less. If it's just going to be nice to kind of get out and
get back to
see
it.
some of the gang again a little bit and all that and everything. Mm-hmm. I won't have many kits because I'm out of everything. And I'm not going to have time to get them done. So, but the shows, I'm certainly hoping they come back. We've got our fingers crossed for Timonium in October. I'm really hoping that we can get a real Craftsman courtyard there again. That's
we're on board if you do, for sure.
Yeah. So we're hoping that that's going to make we're going to be able to do that and everything.
What week in October is that? Do you know?
I think it's the 3rd week in October.
Oh, good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And of course, we're doing I'll be at the Narragage Convention in Hickory, North Carolina. That's the first weekend in September.
Gotcha.
And that's kind of the only shows that are virtually scheduled between the rest of this year and everything. Hopefully, we're back at Springfield next year, of course. So I still intend to do the shows because, again, if I don't have enough product to take to a show, again, I'm there to show displays and talk to everybody and visit. Because the shows are as much a weekend away as they are trying to sell product anymore. So
absolutely,
as long as I can still travel. And of course, the older you get, the harder it is to travel. But as long as I can keep doing that, I'm going to keep at it.
Good. I mean, like I said, I like to see the shows get back on the track and get things back to normal. Not just for that, just for the main reason you said. I love to go to a show, whether we set up at the show as as the podcast,
or we're just hanging out.
or we just hang out. We just like to show up and be there.
I just want to see everyone.
With all the filers.
Yes.
You know?
Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
I will say one thing. If we do Timonium in the fall, we will definitely do the same thing that my dad and I did last time we went to Timonium. We won't be doing. I mean, what do we? We don't have to sell anything. Like, what are we doing?
No, we don't sell it.
We'll just set up. We'll pay for our table, whatever, and then we'll build our models.
It's not expensive,
and we'll talk
so
to people.
Do it. Yeah.
So,
to me, it's worth every dollar that we put into the tables.
Oh, it wasn't even that much. Yeah.
Show people stuff and just stand there and talk to people.
Well, what was really cool,
show
Jeff?
people how we build things.
What was really cool about it was we were in that Craftsman courtyard. Pretty much, we were kind of in this. We were right in the hub of it. And
you were right in the middle of it. Yeah.
And what was really nice about that was, we had a lot of people coming up to us. A lot of them were listeners. A lot of them had listened to our show, but a lot of them didn't. They just saw us building a model and they were talking to us. Mm-hmm. And what was really neat was they would ask us questions. Mostly the people who weren't familiar with us, which is fine, was actually better. And they would, and better, not for us, better for the kit manufacturers that were in Craftsman Courtyard, because and the people who were asking the questions, because they would come up to us and say, hey, I really was looking for something like this, or I'm kind of new to Craftsman kit building. What are some suggestions? What I want to do this type of modeling, whatever. And we were able to just kind of point them. We were kind of like the map when you go to the theme park, that like the travel agent booth. The travel agent. Yeah, we're the information booth. And my dad and I were building, and we were just pointing people to like different types of kit manufacturers that were in Craftsman Courtyard.
This guy's got barns over here. This guy's got city buildings. This guy does lighting. Small detail parts over here.
It was cool for us because we didn't have any skin in the game, and we were just kind of there shooting the breeze with people that wanted to talk, and at the same time recommending them to go, different parts of Craftsman Courtyard.
But we got to meet new people, and not just, of course, bringing them into the hobby, but we got to meet some people that we actually became friends with because of that being there, and they they listen, or they would now participate on our show, and it was a lot of fun. I think we did a clinic there too, and we did 2 clinics, I guess, and we had it was a lot of fun to do. I mean, for us, more than anything, it's just the camaraderie of the hobby, and it's not speaking of anything to deal with us being set up at a show or anything else. It has everything to do with everybody that goes to the show you're going there, but you're not just, hey, I'm there to look at trains. I'm here to get a bargain. I'm here to have like you said, Jeff, the experience, to be there with my friends, or to make friends, or to meet people, or to learn new things. And then, have some beers at the hotel afterwards,
Yep. And well, I sure hope, I keep my fingers crossed and everything that we still get to do. We've got a lot of good ideas for the Craftsman Courtyard, and we surely want to, hopefully we can have that done this October. Well, I just hope that it all goes as planned.
And unfortunately, the Craftsman Courtyard kind of became a thing right before, it all we were kind of
the COVID hit.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm excited to see what you guys can come up with once we're able to get back together, because it was kind of a shame. Like we got some momentum. You guys got some momentum built with it, and then all of a sudden it was like, now our hands are tied.
Yeah.
So, but it'll be back. I mean, it's coming back.
It'll be back. Yep.
Yeah.
It'll be back, and like I said, I get conversations about it more than I. There's a lot of talk about what's next and what are we going to do, and when are you guys going to be able to have another one. So I don't think we've lost any drive with it at this point. We'll just have to push it again when it gets time, and again, it's worth waiting on. It's going to be better yet. So we're looking forward to it.
I think if anything, Jeff, the demand for Craftsman kits might be a little bit more coming back. Because people have been home. I know. My dad and I have seen more people reaching out to us that are now doing Craftsman kits that weren't doing it pre, stay at home orders and pre everything else, because now they had more time to be at home, more time to, work on their layouts, and they dip their toes into a new avenue. So,
yeah. Well, and again, you guys have brought a lot to the table with just the attention that you brought to the product, and again, look at where we are with the Craftsman kits niche right now compared to what it was, 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
We've everybody has talked it up, and I think that we've got so many new manufacturers, and quite honestly, you have a pretty good selection of everything out there to.
You have a wide spectrum
right now.
A wide spectrum,
right,
to pick from.
Yeah, so let me tell you something.
All right.
I took my wife down to that show. She endured that with Brett and I. And she actually walked around the show quite a bit, and she enjoyed checking out the models that were put on. They were amazing models at the contest that was put on for the Craftsman Courtyard, and she enjoyed watching that and seeing that. And of course, she's been around Brett and I, of course, while we're building and everything else.
She's
so she's not familiar with it. Right, but she was walking around. She checked out the modular layouts and things like that. But one of the cool things was when she was done, while we were packing up and going home that day, she said, "I would like to try and have you guys show me how to build a Craftsman kit, Craftsman structure." So she did, and it was the first one she did was the Belleville General Store?
Oh, the Belleville store, yeah.
That's the one. I had it here on the shelf. I said, here you go. Let's start with this one. And that was the first kit she did. And it turned out great. It's on our layout. And it was good enough we felt that it could be put on our layout. And she did a great job. And now she's hooked. And I think she'd like to put a model into the contest. When next time we have a Craftsman Courtyard with a contest, she's planning on doing a model. So I think that's awesome. We took it wasn't us, it was the show. It was the atmosphere that was at that Craftsman Courtyard, and the people and the friendship and the people she met, and she got hooked into this, and now she wants to she likes doing it. I mean, it's not her. She's still the sewing freak, but she's still but it was something she enjoyed doing, and I think that was that has a lot to say for what happened at that Craftsman Courtyard.
Definitely,
absolutely.
Yeah,
that's great. That's a great story. I like that.
All right,
beautiful.
Let's go on to the next question from Mountain Goat. What's that?
Oh, that's Mountain Goat Models. Okay,
Mountain Goat Greg, Mountain Models, Mountain Goat Models. He's got like 4 names. Anyways,
I know.
By the way,
Greg, pick one.
His 2x2 diorama is awesome. So, and we'll get into that. But do you have a current favorite? This is going to be tough. This one is going to be very tough, Jeff. And I apologize that I have to ask you this. But do you have a current favorite kit of all in your product line? It's like asking to pick your favorite child.
Yeah. Well, I guess I would still have to say that old Darden Mill, the one that that was probably the one I've done the most. It's the Darden Mill that was in Elkins. It's and it's probably the one I had the most trouble. There were so many variations of that kit with pictures and everything, with the way the track ran around the top of it. Then it came out. Then they changed it so that it was down almost level with the lower level. So it was a lot of research I did till I ultimately came out with the idea of what we ended up doing with it, which is a little bit of a mix of 2 or 3 versions of what that kit, what that building originally was. But everywhere I've put it on in either dioramas for shows and or now on the layout, it just looks right. There's just something about it that I almost look at it and say, man, I'm pretty good. Just kidding with that. But for some reason, it just looks right. The size is right. The roof is right. It just has the right look that I wanted to get it. Everything just came out the way I was hoping it would come out on that one. So that one's still my favorite probably, but you're right, Brett. It's hard to say because I guess the best answer is to tell you my favorite one is the next one I'm working on. So, yeah, because I just love getting into the next kit. I do love doing that.
Nice. I would agree that I feel the same way when we're building a model. Like, it's always like the next one I'm doing, the one I'm working on now is my favorite. And the oldest one that I have is always my least favorite, because you look back at what you're learning and what you change, and you want to go back and change things and what you've, be better.
Yep. Absolutely.
Well, I can't say that. The last kit I'm working on, I'm gonna finish this week. By this week,
you're never gonna finish that thing.
Is this military tank model? And I'm having a ball with it. I honestly am. But I'm anxious to get back to doing kits. And guess what? Yours is the next one on my list. With Fenwick funnels, which I got from you some time ago.
That one. That's a good one.
Yeah, Fenwick funnels is next on my list. So that's hopefully maybe cracking the seal on that box this weekend. So
there you go.
We'll see. But it's yes. But I'm anxious to, like Brett said, the next kit you build, the one you're working on, is the one you love the most.
Yep, that's exactly right. That's the best way to put it.
Yep.
All right, and this is the last question we have from James.
I didn't see another question.
James Powell. He's asking, what is your opinion of the sponge painting technique? So what do you think of sponge painting, and do you sponge paint or do you not sponge paint?
Well, I paper towel paint more than I sponge paint. I have better luck using the paper towel, but I do like the effect of it. But what I don't like about it is I don't think it can be on every bill. I've seen it where in some cases it's on every building, and I don't think every building would be that peeled if you're looking at a realistic scene. So I like it when it's mixed in properly. I do like the way the peeling. And
I agree with that.
If you do it right, it's beautiful. But I think that's one technique that less is more. The less you do that, I think the better off it looks, quite honestly.
Right. And, it's almost like any... Well, go ahead.
Well, it's hard to get it right because, again, you gotta put paint on, and then you got to get it off, and the first dab you do could still be way too much paint. So it's really hard to get a good job with that. And I bet some people get very frustrated with it, because I know I get frustrated sometimes with it. But yes, I will continue to do it, and yes, I love it where I have it and everything in my mix of my buildings.
Yeah, you're right. And sometimes it works and turns out. Sometimes it doesn't. It depends on the thickness of your paint. It depends on. It takes a lot of practice. The pressure, a lot of it's the pressure you put on when you dab it with the sponge. Yep. And you don't always get the same result, and you're not always happy with it. So I noticed that. Now, I'm not letting you off the hook. You mentioned the paper towel, and now you've got to explain your technique with the paper towel. Because I've not heard that.
I buy the cheapest paper towels I can buy when I'm, for my modeling, because they're normally coarser and they're rougher and they don't absorb very well. They're just cheap paper towels.
Sure.
And basically what I do with that is I'll just take it and I'll ball it up, and I'll take, and instead of using a sponge, I'm doing the same thing you would do with that piece of sponge, or and I'll just take that paper towel, I'll dab it on my paint, and I'll dry dab it to get most of the paint off that paper towel, and then dab the towel around and everything. And I like the effect because the sponge, I think when I do the sponge, again, I'm certainly not the modeler that Jim is and Jason with that stuff and everything. But when I do the sponge, it's too consistent in my eye.
Right.
But the paper towel, I think, is such a inferior product. Is that the best way? unlevel
I think
product.
I think that's the right word.
You know? Yeah, and that just gives me an inconsistent look of that peeling paint effect.
And what's neat is every time so the one difference is if I'm using a sponge, that sponge is going to, unless I'm able to have, if you have multiple sponges, different textures, whatever, but it's still going to produce the same kind of pattern over and over again. But with your paper towel method, every time you ball it up, it's a whole new thing. Every time you're using it, it's a whole new pattern. You're creating your own texture that's unique every time. I never thought of that.
Yep. But I've liked that because it does exactly. It doesn't give me a consistent look, that's been my problem with the sponge for me.
You know what you've done now, Jeff? There's going to be a paper towel shortage now. Because all these modelers are going to go out and get paper towels. No, I'm kidding. But
geez,
we
had a problem enough.
Yeah, I never actually thought about doing it that way though. I'm going to try it now.
You learn something. I
am too.
I have something every day.
I like the sponge technique. I varied the sponge technique one time, and you know what? I was dabbing it with a sponge. It was one of those times where I was using the sponge I wasn't getting the result I wanted. Right? I was getting these bigger spots and different that I didn't want, and I don't know if that was from the pressure I was putting down or whatever. And then I got frustrated, and I just took the sponge and I laid it on gently and just slid it up the clapboard. Not up the clapboard, but in the direction of the clapboard, and just kind of lightly dragged it along. And it left this really neat paint job on the side. I don't know, somebody took a paintbrush and ran it along its side, and it didn't overfill with paint on the board, so it left it looking like a wood. Sometimes if you paint clapboard siding and you put too much paint on, it looks like too much paint. It no longer looks like wood; it looks like aluminum siding. Okay, so this allowed it, because it was just a sponge and I was doing it light to begin with. As I slid it along, it made it look like it's still wood, but it's been painted. And it's starting to fade, but it's not peeling, And I've had good results with that. And then also I've put this. If you ever you people out there listening, if you've ever done the sponge and you're not happy, sometimes, like I said, I get great results from it. Other times where I did it and I wasn't happy with it. So what I did instead is I let it dry. Instead of, when you look at it, you go, hey, you know what? I really don't like how that turned out. So when it dried, and I was sure completely dried after a couple hours, I just took a piece of 220 sandpaper and I just kind of lightly ran it along the direction of the clapboard. And what it did was it peeled up in little spots, but only because of the sandpaper. And it turned out great. Then you just kind of run a wash, an India ink wash over it, a light one, just to kind of fill in any new brighter spots because of the wood. And that's turned out awesome before. So just because you do the sponge and it doesn't work out doesn't mean that you can't make it look nice. So take some sandpaper to it and then an ink wash and see how that looks before you go have paint the whole thing. So anyway, that's it.
That wraps up our questions of the week.
Right.
Now, I have one for you, Jeff, and this will be my last question for you. We're going
to let them roll because it's 2 hours.
Well, I know. This will be my last question. So, you have your brass, you have your Craftsman kits. You obviously, you're busy, you have a lot going on, you have your little group in your area, which is awesome. I'm kind of jealous, actually. But of what you're working on right now, what are you finding the most enjoyable? What's the thing that you're working on personally that you just are getting the biggest enjoyment out of?
Well, right now I still got to say that I
love drawing up the next kit and researching and putting the story together and getting it cut and done and do a test build. So I guess I'd say that the next kit I'm working on, or the existing kit I'm working on, is probably where I get the most enjoyment. I love the amount of research it takes. I love trying to figure out how you're supposed to draw it to get it right.
Right.
How you got to get a little bit more detail out of it, and then on top of that, how do you keep it simple enough that everybody can build it and still, and still have it look different enough that it's got enough detail to be nice. And then with all that, you try to keep the cost down that people can afford it even, And so I just love the development. I really get a lot of enjoyment out of the development and even finding the picture, if I don't know what I'm doing, finding the picture of something that I can get into another kit idea or something, that's kind of what I enjoy doing.
Right.
So,
right.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's probably the development is what I get more enjoyment out of, the development of a building.
He's fired up right now, Brett.
I can tell.
He's fired up. He's going to be making another kit. As soon as he gets off his show, I bet he's already thinking about this. So your wife's probably telling you, don't ever get on with the Wily boys again, because then when you get off, you're going to start wanting to build something again or open up a shop.
I don't see him for 3 more days.
You'll be down there laser cutting again. So. Yep,
I'll be at it. Now I'm still not going to do too much till I get back next week and everything, so I can see what's going on and everything.
Yeah.
I got to get caught up with orders first. I'll probably have a bunch of more orders roll in after the Wily boys here, which is a good thing. Don't get me wrong.
Well, we love hearing that. That's good. As long as the main thing is that we're just all having a good time and doing what we love, and that's what this is about. So.
Well, and what's really cool about it is it's less about, you're going to have, it's great, you're going to have some orders from it, but what's really cool is a lot of guys are going to get a lot of cool kits to build, and that's what's even neater. It's always neat whenever I hear someone later after, they're on the podcast and they're like, oh my gosh, and I get all these, you've said it to us before, now I got some orders to fill, and you just said it now. But what's cooler about that is it's less about the orders, and it's more about, there's a lot of things that are going to get created now. So, I don't know, kind of rejuvenates that whole thing, and it keeps us going, because now there's a bunch of guys that are creating more. So, and I'm sure you felt that way when you get orders that come in. It's not like, okay, well, here's another sale. It's like, well, this is another piece of art, or this is another creation that's going to be made.
Yeah, and again, I love getting the pictures back, what the guys do, and quite honestly, I've seen more changes to the kits than I used to. And I think a lot of that's with Jason Jensen and Scott Albert, with the things they're doing to changing them up and everything, because I can't give Scott a kit without it being all changed up and everything better than what I think I originally did, So,
and I will tell you, I will tell you one thing. We still have to do our Wily's, the Wily's paper mill. So that is going to be. We've kind of kept it reserved because it will be a large build, and we just want to find the right spot to put it. We haven't kept it in the box out of any other reason other than we want to find the exact right spot to put it. And
the big ones are tough because when you go to build them, you're like, oh man, okay, I want to build it, but before I do, we've got to have the real estate in the right place for it.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And otherwise it sits on the shelf, and I'll be damned if I'm going to put some time into a beautiful kit and then I just have it sit somewhere on a shelf. I can't do that. So it's got to be anymore. We're to the point now with the layout that when we build something, it's we need to know where it's going to go when we start building it. So, but
that's also still a very popular kit, and
there'll be more. We're cutting more of those as I speak. They're Steve's actually working on cutting some of them for me right now.
Nice.
So they'll be back on the site before long.
Good.
Cool.
Good.
Well, I think we had a heck of a show again, Jeff.
Yeah, I think so. I enjoy the time with you guys. It's fun.
Yeah. Like I said, we when we have you on, I honestly think we laugh more when we have you on than we do with most anybody else that we have on the show. You and Jake Johnson, we laugh with Jake Johnson a lot too. But you guys get us cracking up, and you're a good sport because you take the ribbon pretty good. And
well, it works both ways. I surely enjoy the time. Can't wait till we get back to shows and stuff, and see more than just this conversation. Have more guys around and everything. A couple of beers would sure taste awful good to sit around and talk.
For sure.
Yes, it would. I'm thinking maybe in May, we get in touch with you, and in May maybe we get together and go down to your place and check your place out.
Absolutely.
Maybe late April or sometime in May, early May. What do you think, Brett?
Yep.
I'm down with that. Just let me know when, and I'll be there. Would you be good with that,
Jeff?
Absolutely. Let me know, and we'll make sure it works. Yep.
And what we'll do is we'll report on it from there and talk to the listeners about it. Maybe we'll do a live Facebook while we're there for a short bit, and then when we come back, we'll just share some photos and that type of thing. So I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Sounds good.
I love it.
Sounds good. And I'm ready. Let's do it.
Awesome. Cool.
Awesome. That's down. We're definitely down with that one. So.
All right. Good. Me too. That'll be fun.
Sweet. Well,
all right, sir.
Pending our trip, it was great talking with you, and we will definitely we'll be making a visit this spring. I think it's in order, and I think it would be awesome. Yep. So again, thanks for your time tonight, Jeff.
Look forward to it. Thank you, guys. Be safe and be. Again, wear your mask and wash your hands still.
Definitely. Well, same to you. Back at you. We're almost through it, so let's just do what we got to do to get through it, so we can enjoy our time together soon.
Absolutely. Yep.
Awesome.
Are you done with the record, Brett?